So, good afternoon. It's another episode of my podcast, Women Celebrating Women. And this week, I have the beautiful, amazing Iona, Billion as she's known right this minute. And what can I say about Iona? So many lovely things, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. So, Iona, please.
Thanks, Franny. Thank you. Hi, my name is Iona Barker, and I am a new paradigm coach, a breakthrough specialist, and an all-round creative fan of life and creativity and having fun and shifting and just, having the best time ever. That's me.
Amazing. So what do you want to, so new paradigm coach, what does that mean?
I am offering a new way of being that is something that has currently not really been thought of. Well, it's been thought of, but it's not really been put into practice much in the world. And that is focusing on alignment, on freedom, on ease, flow, magic, excitement, creativity, fun. No more struggle, no more sacrifice, no more yucky, murky, heavy energy. No more yucky vibes. Yucky vibes are fine, right? Yucky vibes are good. We can allow but it's all about new paradigm's all about focusing on the good stuff, because we came here for the good stuff.
I love that, and I totally agree with you. I love the new paradigm lifestyle of like flow and ease. It's not about effort and struggle. And I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my life thinking effort and struggle was the way to achieve whatever it was I was looking to achieve in life. Whereas, like, I love that new paradigm is just ease and flow, just so cool.
It is very cool.
So do you want to say a little bit about, like, for a start, we have to talk about your top because it looks amazing. And I know that's one of your fabulous hobbies. For anyone who's listening rather than watching the video, Iona is wearing this amazing hoodie, which is that palm trees?
It's Monstera deliciosa leaves.
Oh, I love it.
So it's leaves of a specific plant called Monstera deliciosa. And I made it myself. So I've worked in fashion for the past since 2006, 2007. So what's that? How many years is that? Quite a few years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like.
Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah, 15 years. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's how long I've been working in fashion for, and that was my job for 15 years. Was working in fashion as a cutter, maker, designer, seamstress, sample maker, costume maker. So first part of my career, first part of the 15 years, maybe like half of the 15 years, about 7 years, I worked in fashion, and then I transitioned into costumes. So working for film, television, events, and music. The music industry was my favorite part of the whole time I worked in my fashion life. Working with touring shows that came into the UK. So I was the local seamstress. The local, in inverted commas, just means that it's somebody that they go to when they're in the country.
Yeah.
Instead of the tour seamstress. So I was the local seamstress for the UK. So it was my job to go and see the artist if they had a hem to be taken up, or, you know, it could be something as simple as that, or it could be something as complex as we need a new costume built from scratch. Here is 4 hours, and here is some fabric, and here's the measurements. Go. So yeah, so that's what I did for the last seven or so years of my career. That was my job, and I was considered to be damage control. So I was called in when the the good stuff hit the fan. It was like, I wanna. So that was fun. I mean, it was good money, because it was like a particularly high stress, high, quick turnaround job. So yep, that was me. That was my job, for running around after artists and singers and pop stars. Mm-hmm.
It sounds really glamorous, but then as you talk about it, that actually it's high stress, high turnaround. So I know you have a lovely blog called Seamless Transformations. How did you go from that to where you are? Can you hear me?
I can hear you good. Yeah.
How did you go from that?
So my blog.
Yeah. How did you go from this seamstress to this new paradigm coach? How did that happen?
Franny, so seamlessly. So basically, all through my career in fashion, I was always teaching as well. So I taught at universities and colleges in fashion design, manufacturing and things like that. And then I also started my own business, teaching fashion and sewing to just everyday people as a way to relax, as a way to treat isolation. Isolation in Scotland has always been a big deal because there's so much space. We're quite sparsely populated. There's also space between people. So social isolation, mental health, and stress. Right. So my previous business was all about teaching people how to overcome those things via sewing and craft. And I love teaching. I love guiding. So I had the university jobs, the college jobs, the the teaching business, and I also had staff that would my girls, my seamstresses, and some boys as well, who I would bring with me to jobs if I needed some assistance, right? Because, when you have a music touring show that lands in the UK and they've got like 20 dancers and they all need like the artist's costumes, like, damaged or worn out. But then also the 20 dancers' costumes are worn out too. So I'd call in all my team, my crew to come in and work on. I would work on the artist and the crew would work on the dancers' costumes. So I've always had this love and this passion of like teaching people and showing people the tricks and the hacks and the quick way of doing things, because I learned so many ways the hard way. Like I learned how not to do things, and I wanted to make it easier for my girls and boys, and whether that was at uni, whether that was people I was teaching at the sewing business, whether that was people who were under my wing in the costume stuff. I always wanted to make life easier for them because, why not? Like life has been struggle and sacrifice for so long that bringing a bit of ease by telling somebody that they can just, do it this way instead was always brought me so much joy. So I was there was talk of me going on tour last year just before the pandemic struck. And I'm so grateful and I'm so appreciative that I didn't go away. I stayed at home and I synchronistically found a modality or a collection of modalities that you and I both teach, and that's how I know you. I've met the most amazing people, and that's the thing, Franny, like people never really got me, right? And I always struggled, and there's that word again, right, to meet people and I've got so many amazing friends and I've got so many amazing people in my life, but I always felt as if there was something a bit different about me. I always felt a bit different. Whereas now I'm like, oh my God, like all these people I've met through this, learning this modality, everyone's like me. Oh my God. Okay, not exactly like me, but we're all pretty similar in the things that we,
And when you say that, as you were saying, I was like, oh my God, that's me. Like I do have lots of lovely, lovely friends, amazing friends that I've known for a long time, but I like you, I think there's a part of me that's like, I think I'm a little bit different, or maybe everyone thinks that, and that's an interesting thing, isn't it? How we're all walking around maybe going, maybe I'm a bit different. But yeah, there's definitely something about the group of people that like you and we met last year we're like, oh yeah, we are all different, and we've kind of feel like there's something in it, isn't there? There's an energy to that you're like, and I can see that you're like me. Like I can see that you're like me.
Yeah, and it's, do you know what it is? It's the willingness to say, I'm going to do things differently. I'm willing to do things differently, right? And it's the willingness to try a new thing and to make feeling good the priority.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the, and I was talking this a little bit about this with Jill in the previous podcast, but like how lots of people, when they come to the law of attraction, which is obviously the sort of the basic law, the fundamental law that, you know, underpins all the sort of the work that we're doing, people kind of, it can feel very kind of like, oh, well, I just need to think positively. I just need to, you know, think good thoughts and good things will come to me. And you know, there is an element obviously about feeling good and doing things that feel good and getting aligned, as you were talking about earlier, to and feeling good about ourselves by releasing like old beliefs and things like that. But there's so much more to it, isn't there? There's so much more about it. That kind of like life of ease and flow is also about accepting when maybe sort of more challenging times come along, and learning, and sometimes this is easier than others, but learning to embrace those times, learning to be, like you said, I'm willing to look at this differently, I'm willing to see this differently, I'm willing to see that this is for my benefit, I'm willing to see that, you know, there's a reason why this is coming up at this point in my life, which, like I said, sometimes is easier than others, but yeah, what is it? Just just interested from your perspective, what has been the sort of, and maybe there's more than one thing, but if you were going to say the biggest shift that you've experienced around this work, what would you say that was? What do you think it is? And it might be about a shift in perspective, or
there's been so much around effort and hard work and struggle, because I guess for a long time, I mean, and this could relate to many people, we've been conditioned to believe that we just need to work harder, or we just need to work hard. Like, I remember being in high school and being told that either I needed to work harder, or as long as I worked hard, I would get to where I wanted to be, right? Yeah. And neither of those things worked, because I could never work harder. I was always working as hard as I could, but I would never get to where I wanted to be, right? I wanted to go to university and study engineering, right? I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be a builder or an engineer. And I didn't get good enough grades for those. I worked really hard, but I couldn't get I couldn't get the A's, right? I was very much a B student, like a middle of the ground B student. Some C's and mostly C's and D's, but some B's too. And yeah, I couldn't get there from hard work, right? So I thought, okay, cool, this is obviously just not for me. So I went into something that was easier for me to do, which was the creative, like arts and things like that, right? Instead of the logical maths and English with engineering, I went into engineering, but in fashion, basically, from engineering clothes instead of buildings. And
I love that analogy.
yeah, I still engineer, but just on a textile level, right? And now I engineer on a consciousness level.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I love that. You're a conscious creative engineer.
yeah, totally. We're engineering our perspectives, and we're using the mechanism of the law of attraction, the mechanisms of this universe, and we're engineering physical reality, right? Because we're creators of our physical reality. So the biggest shift for me has definitely been coming out of struggle and hard work and effort into ease and flow, and just feeling so good with being relaxed, because I like I think I had 5 jobs at one point because
Wow.
because I just had to keep going and I couldn't not work. And that, coming from that consciousness of like go, always go. If I'm resting, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that for like, oh, you know, such an intense energy, to being like, oh, it's okay, it's all good. In fact, it's better than good. It's fantastic. I'm having the most fun ever, and I don't need to do, right? All I need to do is follow my impulses, follow my highest excitements, relax, feel good, allow whatever to come up needs to come up, and then have these amazing tools to work through it. And that has been the biggest shift for me.
That's amazing. And I think that's such a, for most of us, is probably the most interesting one when we first come across it, because it can, certainly for me, I was like, but I've always been taught to work hard, and I've always worked hard, and that's what I did. I always worked hard. Or actually, I always worked hard until I burnt out, and then I didn't work hard after that. But I felt like I should be. I did still feel like I should be. So it's such a huge relief to just be able to say, oh wow, I don't know, ease and flow, don't struggle, you don't have to be on the go all the time. And as you were talking there, what was coming up for me was like that it is kind of ingrained in a lot of us, but also like there's I think some fear that a lot of people might have about, well, what if I stay still, if I don't move, if I kind of take a breath, that somehow that it can be a little bit scary when you first do that, because it's like, well, what's going to come up if I'm not busy? What's going to, what emotions might come up, or how is that going to be? Like
trauma. Yeah. What trauma, and what things have I been like, what am I using work to hide from, you know? Because I know a lot of people who, especially some people I have assisted clients and things like that, who have used work as a coping mechanism, right? And it's an addiction. Like there are many, like other addictions, you're using it as a way to hide from something, get away from something, mask something that you're too afraid to look at. And that's why I feel like it's so important to be willing to shift and be willing to do it differently, because it's not sustainable working your butt off. I made friends with my burnout by calling my burnout Captain Burnout, because because it's that military, like, very aggressive, quite masculine energy that's like push, like assertion, which has its time. It has its time when we are in the impulses, right? Following the highest excitement and impulses. And when I get inspired, when I get an inspired impulse, there's nothing I can do about it. I have to do that thing.
Yeah.
It's when I find it most
though, isn't it?
at the moment when I'm it's such a different energy. It's a loose. No, it's all good. It's a loose energy, right? It's like it's a focused energy. I find it when I'm being creative. Like if I get a notion to do something, then I can't not do that thing. Like even if it means staying up till 4 to do it, I'm excited by it, and I'm like, yay, this is fun. And I'm lucky now that I'm appreciative now that I have the opportunity where I can stay up late. And so if I wanted to, right, I had the freedom to do that because it's my highest excitement. Yeah. So that energy is good in the right context. But Captain Burnout is retired. It's retired now.
I love that. And I love that you were talking about that masculine energy, because I think that many of us, again, like similar to when we talk about like this sort of struggle and effort, and it is the struggle and effort is from that masculine energy, that a lot I know for me, definitely this has been a big part of my journey, is learning to sort of sit in that more feminine energy, that energy of like receiving, allowing, holding, loving, accepting, all these kind of very beautiful qualities, that we all have, but which I don't think I was ever really, I'm just trying to think if there was any time in my life, I'm thinking maybe in church a little bit, that there was a time to kind of receive, allow, but I'm not even convinced of that, to be honest. I don't think I remember too much of it, but that is just so freeing, isn't it, when we can sit in that energy of just, yeah, I get to chill out, I get to like,
so good, isn't it?
yeah,
So good. And the thing that just popped into me there was the energy that we sometimes as women, the feminine energy that we're more familiar with is the wounded feminine energy.
yes,
and that's the energy that we tend to be more aware of or more practiced in, right?
yeah. Or the and absolutely that, and sometimes it's that wounded energy, or the kind of the rescuer, the person who has to like look after everyone else. So that lovely, loving, holding, nurturing that we forget about ourselves, and we're looking after everyone else, and we're making sure they're okay, and not, holding space for ourselves and going, okay, what do I need? And then when we start to do that, that is just so amazing, isn't it? When we can connect with ourselves, and maybe there is some wounding for us to connect with. Maybe there is some, some emotions that we weren't aware of, but when we allow it, it flows through us. And then that's when the fun masculine energy, like you said, the impulses of, I'm going to go and do this, and like you said, the energy that comes from that masculine coming out of the sort of loving, nurturing, holding that space for myself, and now I feel really excited to do this. It feels so different, doesn't it, compared to the sort of pushing, driving through at all costs to to ourselves mostly. But
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely a learning curve, and there's definitely layers to be shed. And but then, and I think that's the other thing, and probably for me, that I love about this journey is that whilst we're in our bodies, whilst we're experiencing, being human beings, we're constantly growing and expanding, and we've never got there. But at the same time, having, we never get it done, as Abraham Hicks talks about all the time. You never get it done, you never get it wrong. But actually, when we start to really enjoy the journey, it doesn't matter, does it? Like, it doesn't, we're not in a rush to get to the next thing, because we're actually savoring and enjoying what we've got right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's magical.
it is.
So magical, Franny. Yay. And the savoring part is like, like savoring the moments when you have a moment, right? When you have the moment to be excited, relaxed, however you want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And just deciding that instead of being in the old energy, the old struggle energy of I've got nothing to do, I need to do something, I need to fill it with something, and being actually, no, like this is going to be practicing following my highest excitements from a moment to moment basis, right? Like Bashar says, with no insistence on outcome. So what do I feel like doing in this moment? Sometimes it's just lying on my phone going through Pinterest, right? Sometimes it's something else, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's cleaning the kitchen, most of the time it's not. But whatever.
Sometimes it's cleaning the kitchen, very occasionally it's cleaning the kitchen. Mostly it's not cleaning the kitchen for me.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the really interesting thing then, because again, like when we first come to the law of attraction, is we can kind of think that we're doing it to manifest, bring into our reality, like maybe more money, maybe love, maybe a different job, or whatever it might be, and that may come, but it's not in the way I think that when we first start doing this, that somehow it's not right. I'm just going to think of the job and it's right there, and that it might do, but the fun of it is to, like you said, like you kind of be really light and playful, like the engineering of your reality. Do you want to talk a little bit more about engineering your reality and what that might mean?
Totally. I've been engineering my reality since I can remember. Like, I remember being younger, maybe, I don't know, from the age of 5 upwards, watching films, watching movies, and seeing the ladies wearing big dresses and frocks and sparkly outfits, and just being like awestruck by the whole scene, by the whole scenario of them dancing in this, and the costumes and the lights and the sparkle, and being like, I want that. That's mine. Like, I want that experience. Like, I want to experience that. And then just like imagining, visualizing myself. My imagination has always been, the place where I hang out the most. Right? To like,
I bet your imagination is a really cool place.
I've always spent a lot of my time. It's riot for sure. It's a party central. It's just a constant disco. Like, there's just a disco theme going on in my head, like all the time. Studio 54 in here, yeah, totally. So disco balls and everything up here. But so yeah, my source chakra is actually a disco ball. It's like just going around here all the time.
Love that.
So
I'm totally stealing that.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna make my source chakra
do it.
disco ball as well.
It's a disco ball. Totally. So I just and I was always embodying. Like how I want to feel, because my home life, it wasn't what love my parents so much, but home life wasn't great. Many times growing up, and I was the oldest, so I had to go and, whilst my parents were dealing with caring for my sisters, I had to go and make my own fun and play by myself. And my imagination absolutely became like my world became me imagining where I wanted to be, and then feeling excited by it, and visualizing the smells and the experiences and the tastes and the touches and whatever. And I just loved being around fabric, and I loved being around textures, and just imagining myself being surrounded by crystals and sequins and sparkle and music, and then and it happened, right? And then through the years, I kind of just, I literally fell into the work. Yeah, okay, I studied fashion, but actually to do what I did, fashion was not the route I should have went. I should have went via costume design, which is different, because fashion design is for everyday wear, haute couture, whatever. Costume is film, television, is for a stage, is for a specific thing. So kind of two very different things. And when I tried to, after I finished my course at uni, I tried to go back to do a master's in costume, and I didn't get in. So even when I tried to do it, it didn't happen, right? It only happened synchronistically. It completely happened synchronistically. So, and that was for me imagining and embodying. So I engineered my reality through my emotions, through my imagination, through taking action, but taking inspired action, right? Taking the physical action when I felt inspired to. Like, yeah, making myself my own clothes for so many years. Like, I started out really young because I was really tall and didn't fit any clothes, right? So, and I used to make stuff out of bin bags, newspapers, anything I could find, I could make an outfit out of, and that really made me the perfect candidate to do the job that I did for so long, because I was resourceful,
yeah.
I always knew how to do something, because if you don't have this, you can just use this, right?
Yeah.
And nothing could have prepared me for that. No university course, no, perhaps some jobs could have done, but nothing. Life experience,
so interesting,
taught that to me.
I love how your reality.
So that's how I engineered my.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you there. Sorry, I was gonna say, I love how your reality. Like actually not getting in on the costume design masters was actually a gift in you realize, recognizing that actually the path is not necessarily, I mean, it could be for some people, it might be that they go and get that degree, but for you the path was, no, I'm going to embody it, and then synchronicity came in, and you got led to it. I love that. And
an opportunity came. So when I moved back from London, I worked in London for a while, and when I moved back from London, I was working in fashion in London, and that was when I decided that I was done with fashion and I wanted to make my transition into costume. I went for an interview with an opera company, and they told me that my work wasn't good enough, right? And that triggered me, but also gave me the kick up the butt to be like, screw them, like I am good enough, right? I'm gonna do this, and they're gonna be sorry. Like that, like that ammunition. And I'm so freaking glad I didn't end up working for the opera company, because 2 years later I ended up working for pop stars instead, and that is like so much cooler, so much more fun than some bloody stuffy opera. And I'm sure it's a great job, and I'm sure people love it and blah blah whatever, but it's not for me.
It wasn't your stuff. No,
it wasn't my style. Like my style is standing underneath the stage of a massive auditorium, waiting on a pop star running off so I can doing a quick change, throwing some glitter in their face, and then running back on, right? that's my job.
I love glitter.
Like that kind of stuff is what I've had. Yeah.
I love that.
So, or giving them a Scooter hairspray and then messing them up or whatever, and then shooting them back on stage. That was my jam. That was what I loved to do. So it actually turned out I engineered my reality so perfectly, because I didn't believe that it wasn't an option. You know what I mean? Like, okay, somebody told me that my work wasn't good enough, but I didn't really take that seriously, because, okay, I wasn't skilled in a specific historic costume technique, which was what they were looking for, but I was skilled in so many other ways. So I didn't at any point on my journey believe that it wasn't going to happen, And I think that's what's so powerful about this work, about law of attraction work, is that it's literally just a mechanism, right? It's literally a mechanism. It's a mirror, and you are getting shown back to you. Like, your reality is evidence of what you're practicing at a vibrational level. So if you don't believe something's going to happen, or if you believe something's going to happen, then that's going to be shown back to you.
Back. Absolutely.
Totally. And it's the mechanism that is the engineering. Like, you can engineer your physical reality to you for the mechanism, to come back to you, to show back to you.
Absolutely. But the other thing that's coming to mind as you're talking here as well is about how sometimes we can have desires, and because of our upbringing, because of life experiences that we've had, we kind of think, oh, I'm not allowed to have this desire. I'm not allowed to, either I don't deserve this, or this is too hard for me, or I don't come from the right back. All these kind of beliefs can come in. Whereas actually, and I'm not sure who said this, so I'm definitely not taking credit for this. If we have the desire, it's because that's what our, I call it my inner being. We could say our inner voice, our intuition wants us to have that desire, wants us to have that. So if we desire something, then we absolutely can have it, because we wouldn't have that feeling if we couldn't have it. And for me, to have, when I first had that, I was like, oh, that is so exciting. So, and as you were talking there, it reminded me, so previous to coaching, I've mostly worked in kind of like advice giving, like giving advice to people, like kind of around, like kind of I used to work in a charity where we used to give advice on benefits and all sorts of like kind of like debt and I, when you were talking about when you wanted to get from one thing to another, I met someone from a university and I was like, oh, I want to work in a university now. And at that point I wasn't nearly so up to speed on like attraction stuff, but within like a few months I applied and I got a job like working in a student union, and then I ended up like working in the university from this one meeting with this person that they'd come to meet me, that I decided I wanted to work there. And I love that you just like this, you could just put these desires out, and it just, when we're truly, and I wasn't attached to the outcome, when we're truly not attached to an outcome, when we just have this very playful kind of, oh, wouldn't that be fun stuff, just like it just comes, just happens.
It does. And I love that, Franny, because the desire is your soul's want, right? It's your soul's desire. And if you can have that desire, then you can absolutely experience that thing, that whatever it is. And being attached to the outcome, I could have been attached to the outcome when it came to the fashion stuff. I was attached to the outcome of the fashion stuff, but that wasn't my soul's desire. Like that wasn't the costume stuff wasn't my soul's desire. It was the lights and the stages and the sets and the fabrics and the whole kind of experience of watching your garments, watching what you've made like dance around on a stage. There's like no better feeling when you're in an auditorium and there's like 7,000 people or however many there are there, and looking at something. I mean, obviously they're looking at the artist, right? But the artist is wearing something you have made yourself, right? And there's like, it's such, and the music is good and the vibe is good and everyone's dancing. It's just the best feeling ever. And that's what I was embodying. I was embodying that best feeling ever. Wasn't thinking about the money, wasn't thinking about the credit, wasn't thinking about anything else but that feeling. But that feeling, that was what I was not attached to the feeling. I was familiar with the feeling. Yeah. I didn't think that feeling was ever gonna come. Kind of, I was kind of like, sometimes I would be like, when's this happening? And if it doesn't matter, it's fine. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And the feeling ended up being far better than I could have ever imagined. Right? It ended up being, when it actually happens, ended up being like indescribable. The magic and the journey, the unfolding and the magic of that experience happening was like, what the heck just happens? Like, like, did this really happen? Yeah. Like one of my first jobs was one of my first jobs for one of the biggest performers in the world, right? Was because, I'll tell you really quickly, it's a ridiculous story. The girl who was working in the auditorium basically fibbed on her CV and said she could sew and she couldn't sew. She got to the night of the show and she didn't know what to do and everyone freaked out. And then the whole of the crew, the whole tour crew, were all talking about, what are they going to do? They need to find a new seamstress. And it filtered its way down to the catering. And the catering manager of this one auditorium lived next door to the theatre manager, the stage manager of the theatre that I worked in, right? And they were passing each other on the way to work in the day, right? On the day, or the night before the day I was meant to go work in there. Just a chance passing. And how are you? Oh, it's crazy at work. The seamstress is, don't know what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. This is the catering manager, right? It has nothing to do with the rest of the tour itself. And the stage manager is like, oh, I know somebody that would be really good for that. Here's Iona's number. The catering manager took my number, gave it to the tour manager. The tour manager gave it to the head of the wardrobe department. The wardrobe department phoned me at 11 o'clock at night whilst I was like sitting in the pub with the beer, like, you know? It's like you can't write that stuff. Do you mean like that? So cryptic and so like, yeah, and then that's it. That job set me up for my career, and that was, I didn't have to effort to get that job.
No.
They phoned me.
I love that. It's just such an amazing story. I love how many. I love the idea of like, you just have this desire, and then there's just all this, like, all these different people come together, and it's like, and then it happens, and it's you didn't have to do anything. You weren't sending hundreds of CVs to like lots of different people. You weren't.
No, I was working in a theatre. Yeah, I was working in a theatre in the wardrobe department at the time. I it wasn't a particularly very nice job. I was running single-handedly running the wardrobe department for a massive theatre. I was doing everything, and it was like, there was no lift. It was up on the 3rd floor, and I was so toned, and I was so fit from dragging costumes up and down, up and down, up and down the stairs. I was having a really crap time of it, and I was kind of feeling a little bit lost and a little bit sad. And then I got that phone call, and that was it. And I was working in a bar as well at the same time, because I was ready to quit the theatre, and I had the bar job just as just in case I quit the theatre, I could fall back on this. And I was working in the bar when I got that phone call. Well, I just finished my shift and I was having a pint. So like, you know, when you work in a bar, you used to like sit and have like a staff drink, and yeah, that's when I got the phone call. It's like,
I love that story. That's so cool. And then that was it. Then you're creating costumes for all these different people, all these different stars.
Yep. And then up until last year, up until March 2020 was my last costume gig. And I was ready. I was ready to pack my bags, because I've done tours, but they've never been global tours. I've only ever done UK tours. And I was ready. I was never ready to do a tour, because I was quite happy to stay at home with my cat and my boyfriend and wave off the tour, and I go home to my comfy bed. But something about last year, it was like, I think I'm ready to do this. Like, I think I'm ready to go on tour. I'd like psych myself up for going on tour, and then no tours. Tours no more, you know? And I was like, oh, okay, well maybe, and I'm always a big fan of like, there's a saying in Scotland, I don't know if it's if they have it in down south, but it's what's for you won't go by you, right? So I've always been of that, you know, well, if it's meant to be, then it's meant to be, and if it's not happening, then there must be some other thing to be done, right? There's another part of the story that's not played out yet. So when the tour, when everything got cancelled and everything started shutting down, a part of me was like, oh, thank God. You know, part of me was like, oh, Jesus Christ, thank God, I'm so grateful. You know, because I didn't really want to go on anyway. You know? And then literally that month is when I started doing this work.
Wow.
Easy. Yeah.
Wow.
And our course that we have done, that we completed together, wasn't created until the June, July, August of last year. But in March, I was reading Nick Rowe's book, putting into practice the belief tree, even though it wasn't called the belief tree then. But I was doing the work on myself and on other people, and I was playing with it because I had nothing else to do. And here we are.
I know. I think, I mean, my story's probably not quite the same, but I definitely felt like last year there was something, there's been, for me, something about the last year that there was a needing to sort of slow things down for so many people globally. And I don't want to, you know, I know that there's been a lot of people who've found it really difficult and had to experience some very, you know, lots of challenges around it. So I appreciate that and don't want to kind of lesson how difficult it might have been, but like for me, it was just exactly what was needed. I literally found, and I'm glad I'm saying literally, because I know that our mentor says that all the time, Nick Bro, literally. But I found his group, the Power Manifesting Collective, I think in February last year, or I joined it in February last year, and when the lockdown came in March, I was like, oh wow, this is exactly the kind of group I want to be in. And like you doing this work on myself, and then I had some one-to-one coaching as well, which was amazing, that really kind of set me up. And as I finished that one-to-one coaching, Nick then said, I'm going to start training people. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And I still remember at the time, going, I didn't know I wanted to be a coach. I kind of did, you know, like I'd kind of been getting like kind of nudges for probably a few years around it, and I'd had a couple of like attempts at like trying to find something, but not really tried and not really got anywhere. And then I just knew that it was just, this is what I'm gonna do. And I was slightly scared. And I think when I paid over my money, I was also slightly scared. But it was that kind of good, you know, that feeling where you know you're on the edge, that kind of, we're just on the edge of our comfort zone. Because I think I'm pretty good at sitting in my comfort zone. So it was really good for me to kind of push myself to the edge of that and go, oh, okay, right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. And I don't know about you, but I don't really think I've looked back. I think it's just been like a complete, I don't know, amazing journey since then as well. So a whole other life almost feels like has started, and just, yeah, incredible.
We're not physically, emotionally, energetically the same people. Like I feel like I've created a whole new body for myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I've changed so much. Like I feel like I've come so, because there are infinite versions of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We live in a multiverse, even though like science doesn't talk about it much. They will. We live in a multiverse where there's like infinite amounts of realities and infinite amounts of us, right? So the way that me in 2020 is so far away, and Franny in 2020 so far away.
Yeah.
Like I can't see myself anymore. Like I look at pictures of myself from last year and previously, I'm like, is that a person? I don't know them.
Is that another version of me?
yeah, that must be me in the other reality. Right? Yeah, that's me in like 4 realities ago or whatever. Right? And I keep like, it's a constant jump. It's a total reality jump, and that's all we're doing. Like the mechanism is, right, the other mechanism that's so awesome about this work is that like we're literally just jumping into a reality version of us that or a physical reality version, and that counts for people. Like it kind of hurts your brain at first to start thinking about it, but the more you think about it, the more okay. Like there's an infinite reality of Franny's, there's an infinite reality of Franny's husbands, there's an infinite reality of Franny's kids and
bodies,
and Franny's house and town and London and bodies and hair and everything, right?
And so I love
slotting in with what
I love playing this a little bit and going.
I love playing.
I remember last year I'd had like a little bit of time off from exercise. And I decided I was going to jump into the version of me that had been exercising for quite a while. Like, and I was like, I'm jumping into that. And you know what? I didn't ache. I didn't like, you know, like sometimes when you haven't exercised for a while, and I was like, I've jumped into that. And I love that. I love playing with that. And it's so much fun. So now I'm going to jump. I'm trying to think what other versions of me I kind of would like to have a play with.
What's exciting for you right now?
I think, you know, what's exciting for me right now, and this is another version of me. I'm like, how did this happen? It's channeling different energies.
Yes, Franny.
I love it.
You can just lock into that version of you that is I mean, you're channeling always anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the thing. Like when we talk about channeling, we're always, you know, we're nearly always channeling something or some sort of energy, whatever and that we can be channeling source energy without kind of doing it in a very kind of conscious way. But I love doing it more consciously, and I love connecting with people who do that as well. And I am so, the thing is, I still have a little bit of a chuckle and go, is this me? This is so funny. Like,
so good, so exciting. And like, the more in alignment you are with yourself, with your true authentic version of yourself, the easier the channeling comes. One of my clients is a channel who you know, and the more we work on her, she does my 3-month program. She's almost completed the 3-month program, and the difference in her channeling,
is it just
like,
totally,
oh my goodness, like, it's like night and day. Like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome to see how the perspectives that she was practicing previously was almost like, well, like, yourself, like, whatever perspective we're practicing, it's kind of, it's a layer upon layer upon layer of stuff. And as soon as you start clearing away that stuff, you become more of your authentic self, but you can also tap into whatever it is you want to tap into, whatever energy, whatever, consciousness, high vibration energies. And it's really exciting to watch. And yeah, it's so fun.
Love that. So now I want to ask you the same question. What's the version of you feel really excited to leap into next?
I am feeling really excited about laughter, about having fun. And okay, yes, the physical reality stuff, like the money in the car and the house and all of those things, and the dog, I really want a dog. All of those things, right, are coming, right? They're here, right? And I just have to line up with them. They're unfolding. They're always unfolding. And I find that the more I focus on those things and them not being here, I'm pushing them away.
Yeah.
But also I'm not having fun when I'm focused on those things. And where are they, or why they're not here yet? Like, where are my millions? Where's my sweet car? Where's my house in LA? All of these things, right? I'm just allowing the fun to come in. And I came here for fun. Like, I love having fun. I love creating things that are fun. Yeah, I came here for that. I came here for the fun. I love feeling the fun, like moving through my body, because I can feel it. I feel the excitement and the energy now.
Yeah.
And it's in my physical body. So I'm aligning up with Iona, who is just relaxed and having fun, the most fun she's ever freaking had in her life. And I started saying that last week. I'm now choosing to have more fun. I'm choosing to have more fun interactions with people. And I've had like a weekend of fun interactions with people. I had an interaction with some people that wasn't fun. And I was like, well, this is no fun. Like, so
I don't choose this.
Yeah, I'm not going to choose this. So I just didn't choose it. I was like, okay, cool, I'm done. And I just, changed my vibe, changed my situation. I just decided, cool, okay, now I know what I don't want. Now I know what I do want. And since that situation, I felt like more fun has just appeared. It's been great.
I think that's amazing. I love the idea of, and when you say that, then you remind me of the times where sometimes I might get bogged down in exactly what you were saying, that whatever it is, the next thing that I wanted to come into my reality hasn't come. And then that's when I do a thing where I go, okay, I write a list, and I write on my side of the list and I just put fun. And then on the other side of the list, I write down all the things that I want my inner being, my source energy to take care of. And then I just write it all down. And then I just go, that's all I'm focusing on today, is just having fun.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's so good. I love it. I'm totally going to do that. after this. You've reminded me, you've inspired me to play that game, because that's a fun game to play. I've not played it in a while.
Great game. And you know what? Just you talking about it, I could feel when you were talking about that. I'm like tuning into fun, and I can feel the energy of like fun. It's a trite thing to say, but it's so much fun to have fun. Like what is
so much fun?
What else is what else is there for us to do? Like, we can have fun doing so many different things. Like, who knows what we might do next? Love it.
It's infinite fun.
It really is. Oh, I know, it's been so lovely to talk to you. Just before we finish, is there one more thing you'd like to say? Just before we
have fun.
Have
all the fun. And if you're not having fun, why are you not having fun?
If you're not having fun, stop and then go have fun.
Go have fun. Totally. Absolutely. Thank you, Franny.
Thank you. So lovely. I've so enjoyed this chat. It's been amazing. And you are so amazing. Oh, actually, just one more thing. Just how can people find you? Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm on Instagram as newparadigm_Iona, and on Facebook, Iona Barker. And you can go to my website, which is www.ionabarker.com. But mostly, I'm mostly on Facebook. I've got YouTube as well, Iona Barker, and that's me. So you can just Google my name if you want to find some fun facts about me in the fashion industry or whatever. God knows what you'll find. But
and just a reminder, everyone, have fun.
Absolutely. Always.
Always. Thank you. Bye.